The project, backed by Michael B. Jordan and Ali's widow, Lani Ali, is the first authorized by his estate and is expected to premiere later this year. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O Tires, save up to $170 on select sets of tires with paid installation using your Big O Tires and service credit card. Plus, synthetic oil changes start at just $39.99 through May 24th at Big O Tires.
Is this the takeover?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Oklahoma City Thunder put the Lakers out of their misery Monday night and started the countdown on a decision about LeBron's future. As in previous years after the final game of the season, LeBron said he has no idea if he's returning to the NBA for a 24th season or to the Lakers for a 9th season. OKC's 115-110 victory completed a sweep of the Lakers in the Western Conference semifinals and elevated the possibility that the 41-year-old LeBron might have played his last game with the Lakers. LeBron had a decent game last night, 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists in 40 minutes. On July 1st, LeBron becomes an unrestricted free agent, which will give him the right to talk with any team in the league. The Lakers have to figure out if they want to give LeBron a new contract that will pay him more than the $52 million he earned this season. Some tough decisions on both sides coming up. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
All my life, I wanted to do good, wanted to be good, wanted to feel free. All the history that made me cry and stop my stride. So I changed my mind. I doubled down on believing that the opinions of other men couldn't like my life, nor deter my sight, nor wrong my right, nor guide my life, or delay my flight. I'm flying high now, above on the clarity of love. I only get what I put into it. I spend my sweet time where I deem fit. I got one life, I'ma let my glow show. Baby, look at this, see it body and a soul glow. I admit, paint my own pictures, gifts on gifts on gifts. Let the load live, let the word shift. I ain't here to live in fear or just plain old exist. I'ma go ahead and be great, why not? I'ma go ahead and be great, why not?
KBLA Talk 1580, being great every day that we can. We're here for you. We are your election information station, and I'm really pleased to welcome in a candidate for LA County Superior Court judge. She is an LA deputy city attorney, has handled hundreds of criminal cases, and she is formerly an LAUSD teacher, an elementary school teacher in Watts, California, now running for judicial seat number 87. Sharee Gordon, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to see you.
Thank you. I'm so happy. My husband was paranoid. He called me to make sure I was up and ready for you this morning.
Oh, that's a good guy right there. So, elementary school teacher to deputy city attorney to LA Superior Court judge. Give me your why.
My why is because public service is in my DNA. I'm actually a city attorney because I was an elementary school teacher. And I saw how the violence that was in the community was impacting my students and their families. And I wanted to do something about it. So I actually went to the city attorney's office to make sure that I could not just protect, but uplift my communities. And I've been at the city attorney's office for over 25 years. I've worked in everything I've done in the office has been to make sure that communities were safer, to improve everything that was going on the ground around communities. I was director of the neighborhood school safety program, where I worked on making the neighborhoods around schools safer. I've worked with the community for years and law enforcement for collaborations that would help everyone in our community.
And I know that in the city attorney's office, you've worked with the vice of prostitution, I guess, unit. Talk to me about that work and what that has to do with being a judge.
Yeah, I was a director of the prostitution diversion program, and that program focused on getting wraparound services for victims of sex trafficking. So I would work with different agencies to see what we could provide for young ladies and young men who were in the life trying to get out of it. So mental health resources, somewhere for them to live, education on finding jobs, seeing if we could get them into schools, anything I could to get them out of that life. So I did that for years, and that was very, very rewarding. I've had a trial that deeply impacted me with a young lady who was from Orange County, who her friends had told her if she went on the Figueroa corridor, she would be able to make quick money. So she went out on the Figueroa corridor in the morning. Beautiful young lady, and two pimps saw her immediately, and they started trying to round her up. And it just so happened that LAPD was coming down the street, and she was walking in the middle of Figueroa corridor during traffic to get away from the two pimps. And when the case came to me, it actually should have gone to the district attorney's office, but the vice officer came to me and said, this case is going to be dismissed, and it really shouldn't be. And I was a young attorney. I didn't know anything. So I went forward, and my office had never handled that type of a case and didn't want to handle that type of case. And so it was a lot of pressure, and the young lady was scared. She got on the stand visibly shaking. But at the end of the day, we were successful in getting her the resources she needed to get her back on the right track and to protect her, because during the entire trial, she was being threatened. It was a very nerve-wracking time period, but that taught me that that's where I needed to be. So that's why I started working on the diversion program to see what I could do to help the victims of sex trafficking. And we did a lot of good work. We actually even helped on the John School side, and to date, I helped teach that class so that we wouldn't continue to have Johns along that corridor. And we have a 5% recidivism rate for the John School. So I've been very happy with the collaboration with that.
So all of that sounds like restorative justice. So talk a little bit more about your own views on restorative justice and where we are now with alternatives to incarceration. And of course, that's a big issue on the bench.
Yes, I think if it's warranted, every case by case, there are some cases where restorative justice is definitely should be at the forefront, but there are other cases where people need to be held accountable. I think that as a judge, and that's one of the reasons why I think the diversity on the bench is so important, and having different backgrounds, because we should be able to see each individual as a human being and what has happened in their life. I have cases when people come in, I could see my nephew and I could see my cousin in that person, and that helps me guide me on is diversion the key in this type of opportunity. I've had trials where someone made a mistake, and yes, they did, but should they have this carry with them for the rest of their lives? So restorative justice is definitely something that we should look at, especially when it's, I handle misdemeanor crimes. So when we're looking at misdemeanor crimes and a person having a record for the rest of their life, and if they're never able to get it expunged, what should be the answer? And they should be held accountable, but at the same time, is that justice? So I'm a proponent of diversion programs if warranted, but every case has to be looking at the facts and looking at the individual and what's happening.
Attorney Sharee Gordon, You talk about people from all different walks of life. You went to University of Nebraska Law School. I have a feeling there's not a million Black folks there. You were elected, I think, president or representative of your law school there. Talk to me about how that happened and what that means for you as a candidate for judicial service.
So I am originally from Omaha, Nebraska. I moved to California when I was 6 years old. My family moved when I was 6 years old. So that's where Nebraska comes in. And yes, there are Black people in Nebraska, and I get that all the time. I grew up in LA though. I'm a proud product of LAUSD schools. I went to Cowan and Palms and University High. With Carrie Harper. So I'm definitely a LA girl, but for law school, I was offered a scholarship to go back to Nebraska, and I had not been there since I was a child. So I took that, and it was a great opportunity. It taught me a lot. I really appreciate LA after being in law school in Nebraska. And yes, I was elected the first African-American woman to be president of the 3L, which is a senior class. So basically I was a senior class president, the first Black woman ever at that campus. And I'm giving away my age, but it was still, I was back in the 90s, but still that was a long time to go without having a Black woman be a leader. And I was very proud of that.
Well, I think about when I read that in your bio, I think about the moment we're in right now with some polarization in our country, strife around diversity, equity, inclusion, around the inclusion of women and Black people, other people of color. And I wonder what you learned or what you took away from that experience and how you would apply that should you be elected.
Well, I was shocked that racism was so in your face when I went on the campus with some of the students. I won't say all, because overall the people were very, very welcoming. But I was in a class, a woman's law class of all things, and my professor was a Black woman. And one of the students looked directly at me and said, I don't understand why you would go to a law school where you weren't wanted. There are plenty of law schools to go to. Why did you go to a law school where you weren't wanted? And I said, well, at one time, women weren't wanted in any law schools. And there had to be pioneers that went to those law schools and said, we deserve a chance. And now half of the law school, if it might be more than half now, half of the law school students are women. But at one point, women were not welcomed, and there had to be someone to go in there and say, this is our opportunity and we're going to take it. And if you had seen her face when I answered her question, it was comical, but it stopped her. And afterwards, a lot of students came to me and told me they appreciated my answer.
Interesting. And so it sounds like making it plain was your approach there. Talk to me about some of your endorsements and what they mean about how you would serve.
Well, the judges, period, but the Black women judges, they have been phenomenal. I mean, they call me, they prop me up, they tell me where I should be. If I see them out and about, they're introducing me to everyone. They have just been incredible. Also, what I was really proud of, because my office, the City Attorneys Association, they don't back everybody. So I was very happy that they came on board. I'm actually in the process of several different endorsements, and this week there'll be more to come out. But also what I really, really love is how many teachers, I've worked with teachers and with different staff for school sites for decades. And it's been heartwarming how many of them have come and supported me. I'm sure they're listening, they're sharing the message. So I know I'm on the right track. I have surrounded myself with wonderful people, and they have all been on board. Even I want to say the Getty Museum, I put a prop in. My husband works for the Getty, and the Getty has just gone over and aboard and getting people to come out and get them to support me. So I've had a lot of great endorsements from run-of-the-mill, everyday life people, and that's been very rewarding.
And what's your vision? How would you like to impact justice should you get this job?
The first thing is to make sure everyone who comes into the courtroom feels respected. I've seen judges that have bent over backwards to make sure everybody feels like they're being heard. When I was a young lady, we moved around a lot, and I was actually shy. You can't tell from now, but I was actually very shy. That I would just be overwhelmed. And when sometimes it's the first time people come into court, it can be very overwhelming. And to not see anybody that looks like them can be very daunting. So I want to make sure that whether this is the first time they're in the courtroom or the 31st time, that they always feel like they're going to get a fair shake, that they're going to be heard, that they're going to be respected. That's what I want. I don't want us to be railroaded into things that are beyond our control because we don't feel like we're going to be heard, and we don't feel like we're going to be respected. So, and I also want to bring that diversity when judges talk to each other. When they're making decisions, they talk to each other. And I want to be able to bring my perspective from my community, especially when they're the real serious cases that are going to impact someone's life for the rest of their life. I want to be there to give my perspective on the facts of the case and what should be done.
You said you got into the whole field of law and being in the city attorney's office because of your work as an LAUSD teacher. And so I wonder how that experience with kids, how you hope that would color your work.
I definitely want to be a role model. I taught elementary school, which I absolutely loved. And when my babies would come in the classroom, when they had seen something over the weekend, and the way that they would take it in would break my heart. I mean, sometimes it was like it was a normal thing. They thought that was how the world was, and they had never been out of their community. So I want to show them that there's something more. When I was a teacher, you can't do these things now, but it was way back when, I used to get with the parents after school and ask if I could take like 3 or 4 of them to basketball games or something outside of their community so they could see that there was something else. And that was very rewarding. But it also at the same time, it broke my heart because it was like they were seeing a totally different world, and they would see the violence, but they wouldn't see the positives in their own community because they were just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So I want to be someone that they can, just like I will say, my aunt was the first Black woman Superior Court commissioner in LA. And when a little girl from Omaha, Nebraska saw my aunt get on the bench, and it showed me I could do this. This is possible for me. And I want to be that for these next generation of young ladies who might not see anything beyond their circumstances now, but they can see that there's something else for them in the future.
Well, Attorney Sharee Gordon, I really appreciate your spending the time with us this morning and let us know about your candidacy. Tell us how to follow up and follow you and learn even more.
Thank you. If you go, and this is showing I'm not a politician because I made it very long, ShareeSandersGordon.com. Please go to my website. It tells you more about me. It tells you about my endorsements and in any way you could help. And it also has different pictures of me being out and about. So it's SHAREE, Sharee Sanders, SANDERS, Gordon, GORDON.com.
ShareeSandersGordon.com. Thank you again for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. We will continue our conversation when we come forward. Phone lines are open. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand. Your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
You have your vote by mail ballot. Now it's time to vote. Drop it off early at any official ballot drop box. Visit plan.lavote.gov to learn more. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
Lunch was great, but this traffic is awful.
Can we stop at a bathroom?
Are you all right?
I keep having stomach issues after eating, like diarrhea, gas and bloating, abdominal pain, and sometimes oily stools.
Sound familiar? Those stomach issues may actually be a pancreas issue called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. Creon pancrelipase may help manage EPI. Creon is a prescription medicine used to treat people who can't digest food normally because their pancreas doesn't make enough enzymes.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you are allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon. Call 800-633-9110 or visit creoninfo.com to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
I'm asking my doctor about EPI and if Creon could help.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
It does continue, and I'm so glad that you are with me today, and we are getting a chance to vet these judicial candidates. I think, as Jasmine Canick said on yesterday, a lot of times in the past, I've neglected to really look into the judges. I know some of us have. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we started this when I was on that other show, started pursuing interviews with the judicial candidates. And there are a lot of people running for office for judge this time. So you're going to see a whole bunch of them on your ballot. I would love for you to be ready for that. I would love for me to be ready for that. So I want to remind you once again that all of our election interviews are up on YouTube, right? You can find the judges, you can find candidates for various offices. They're also available wherever you get your podcasts. Even if you're not looking for election information, if you haven't heard my interview with Faith Evans, with Crazy Bone, if you haven't heard some of the great conversations we've had with Legal Minds, you can find them anywhere you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music. You can just Google it. You can find it. Definitely find them on YouTube, and you can find them on our app, the KBLA 1580 app, and just listen as you will. Would love to hear from you. We are taking your calls, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. That is the number to call. And as I've said, when I'm trying to figure out who I'm voting for, whether it's a judge or any seat, I also typically compare different voter guides. Jasmine Canick has one. We talked about that yesterday. And of course, Maxine Waters has one, the LA County Democratic Party, LA County Federation of Labor. Attorney Carrie Harper is on the phone. Good morning, Attorney Harper.
Well, good morning. Good morning. How are you, Dominique?
I'm blessed. I'm broadcasting from the Bay, but I'm still on the job. How are you doing?
Blessed and highly favored. That's my confession of faith. What else, huh?
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you because you're the one that really said, you know what, Dominique, we got to stop ignoring these judicial seats. And you really helped me when I was on Front Page to start connecting with some of these folks and letting them come on and tell their stories so that we could get an idea of who's who.
You remember that? Do you know that it's been a decade now? We started that back in 2016. And
Wow.
at first I was just giving you my picks. And I said, it would be a much more fair kind of position to let them come on, speak for themselves, and then let everybody else sort it out. We continue to do our research and due diligence, but it's kind of thrived and people are picking up speed, right?
Yeah, it's picking up speed, and it seems to be doing it at a time when people, or maybe we're helping people to pay more attention to these races, and you see more public defenders running, and they had the Defenders of Justice slate, and so I feel like it's part of a broader movement, hopefully.
I think it needs to be, because everything comes back to the judges. It's all about the judges. Problem with the Voting Rights Act being gutted. Who's behind it? The judges. Problem with everything that goes around. Who's going to determine who's in a race, or if the race is going to end up being competent or thrown out or recall? All those things come back to the judges. And how do we get to know the judges? We have to get in there and get to know them when they're at the trial court level, the superior court level, when they're city attorneys, and you're passing them in the hallway like the brilliant Sharee Saunders. For decades, we've passed each other in the hallway. We're on opposite sides of the V, but she wholeheartedly has my endorsement. What she didn't say, she was the most popular, one of the most, if not the most popular students in school when we went to high school. And no, I don't appreciate her kind of unveiling our ages there. But anyway, she's a people person. And she'll be a brilliant addition to any court. And hopefully this is just the first level she goes to, because we need to really integrate the different levels at the appellate level, the superior court level, the SCOTUS level, all of those levels.
You called her Sharee Sanders. She goes by Sharee Sanders Gordon. I guess that was the maiden name when you were hanging out with her in high school. Sharee Sanders Gordon. Yeah, she'd actually name checked you. I'm pretty sure that's why you're calling.
Oh, well, did she do? Okay. All right. Well, hey, then she has the right to do that. She was, that was back when, yeah. So Sharee is definitely one of the most well-qualified candidates for the Superior Court, the office. I won't give a whole commercial on her. Cheerleader, popular, smart, and just really a no-brainer choice. Just go to the other races and decide that and check the box in the countywide election for her immediately. But isn't it weird? It's been a decade we've been doing this, Dominique?
I did not realize that. That is wild, and it's all because of you getting in my ear, and I knew you were right, because I most of the time didn't even know who these people were. So I'm really thankful to you for making that happen, and I know others have followed suit. And so you're hearing a lot more about judges in a lot more places now because of Attorney Carrie Harper.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But you gave me the voice. You put it on air when people may or may not have been interested in it. So it was a great team act. Let's keep it going. I'm still researching them, and we'll swing back around before people punch the ballot, right?
Yeah, maybe I can lure you into the studio to talk about judges, or we can do it on the phone.
I told you I would. See?
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, I now I remember. So, Attorney Carrie Harper, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate your thoughts on the races overall, and of course on your friend Sharee Sanders Gordon. We've got news, traffic, and sports, and then we're going to meet yet another candidate for Judge Paul Thompson for 116 is next on KBLA Talk 1580.
Where the overlooked become unmissable, this is KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Gas prices continue to climb, with experts warning relief won't come quickly even if the Iran war ends. Here's Nick Jarmus with AAA.
It's going to take some time for those logistical networks to get back and the oil to actually get to where it needs to be.
AAA says prices typically peak in summer due to a costlier gasoline blend. The mother of a toddler exposed to fentanyl has been arrested and charged in Tennessee. Police say Black 28-year-old Deja Cross endangered her 3-year-old and intended to distribute drugs from her home. Cross is being held without bond. And Damani and King Harris are set to join their dad, T.I., on their first ever joint tour. Earlier this week, the rapper and his sons shared a video to announce the family succession tour. All three will kick things off on July 8th in Phoenix. Tickets are on sale now. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O Tires, save up to $170 on select sets of tires with paid installation using your Big O Tires and service credit card. Plus, synthetic oil changes start at just $39.99 through May 24th at Big O Tires.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Oklahoma City Thunder put the Lakers out of their misery Monday night and started the countdown on a decision about LeBron's future. As in previous years after the final game of the season, LeBron said he has no idea if he's returning to the NBA for a 24th season or to the Lakers for a 9th season. OKC's 115-110 victory completed a sweep of the Lakers in the Western Conference semifinals and elevated the possibility that the 41-year-old LeBron might have played his last game with the Lakers. LeBron had a decent game last night, 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists in 40 minutes. On July 1st, LeBron becomes an unrestricted free agent, which will give him the right to talk with any team in the league. The Lakers have to figure out if they want to give LeBron a new contract that will pay him more than the $52 million he earned this season. Some tough decisions on both sides coming up. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction,
backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelinos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
KBLA Talk 1580. We go.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
And we do not, and neither should you, especially when it comes to election season. That's the season we're in right now, and it is my absolute pleasure to be able to introduce you to some of the candidates who are running for LA County Superior Court Judge. We have one such person joining us right now. He is running for office. Which office is he running for? He's running for seat number 116, is a candidate for judge, is a longtime attorney with many years, got his law degree back in 2006, and has prosecuted all kinds of very serious crimes. Paul A. Thompson is joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be with you.
It's great to have you on. So tell me, it's the question I ask most everybody, why? Why do you want this job?
Well, I tell you what, I had a unique opportunity a number of years ago. There was, you probably remember, there was a movement that was started in large part because of a lot of media coverage of the Harvey Weinstein, the Me Too movement. And there was a New York Times article. There was a lot of coverage of a lot of people who had been abused by people in the entertainment industry, people who are in positions of power, and people who had gotten away with it for a long time because they were in positions of power, and that helped them to cover up their crimes. A lot of people came forward. That was 2017. 2 years later, 2019, my office, I'm a deputy district attorney, and I have been for going on 20 years. In 2019, the end of 2019, 2 years into that, we still hadn't filed a case against any of those people that came forward. I think there were like 45 people that were accused, powerful people in the entertainment industry. And one day I was walking in my office, minding my own business, and I was called into my boss's office. And my boss said to me, "Hey, can you take over the Harvey Weinstein investigation?" And I was so humbled and honored to be able to do something really significant like that. And I took that case, and I looked over all the evidence in the case, and I tried to develop a little bit more evidence. And then a couple months later, we did file charges against Harvey Weinstein. And I saw that case through until its end at the end of 2022. So I was with that case. I lived with it for 3 years. And I saw all the difficulties that people face and the sacrifice that you have to go through to take on people with positions of power and authority and wealth. And, at the end of it, we convicted him of rape and other sexual assault charges. And I really felt like that was a meaningful experience that it was really great to be able to give back to this community that I love so much and to sacrifice for the community in that way. And so then I was, I'm kind of in a situation now where I think that I can expand upon that. And, me and one other person there's two of us candidates are running against sitting judges who have disciplinary histories. And we're running to bring accountability and trust back to the Superior Court because we really believe that it's important that we have that and that we can restore trust in our Superior Court. So that's kind of what inspired me to run.
When we think about prosecutors, especially longtime prosecutors like yourself, sometimes I guess the stereotype or the impulse is to say, well, that person won't believe in restorative justice.
Yes.
They'll be, and most of our judges actually are prosecutors. What would you say about that?
I hear that, and so what I want everybody to know is that I have demonstrated, I believe, throughout my career and the things that I've said, and I've been an advocate of taking a modern approach to the criminal justice system and making sure that we're doing the best by everybody, because really we do better when we are providing the services that people need to try and make them to help them to overcome whatever it is that they're facing. A number of years ago, I published an article in a publication here advocating for mental health diversion and mental health reform in our criminal justice system, because that's something that if we don't help treat people and the problems that are causing them to offend, we're not going to make them better. We're not going to make society better. They're just going to continue to come back into our criminal justice system. We need to fix the problems. And, I think that one of the things that we faced in the Me Too movement was there were a lot of stereotypes about how people would respond to being sexually assaulted. And it took a progressive approach. It took an idea of understanding that, hey, maybe we don't have things right, and understanding that there are misconceptions about how people may respond to being assaulted by people in positions of power. And I think through that process, I was able to demonstrate that I do have a progressive approach to the issues that we face in the criminal justice system.
You mentioned houselessness, and mental health, two of the
they're huge
daunting challenges, for not just LA County, but the nation and certainly our state. And here in, LA County, we're looking at trying to close jails, and it seems like one of the biggest problems, especially with something like Men's Central Jail, is the mental health
absolutely
overlap with criminality, and that lead to the conversation about care first, restorative justice. So what's your vision as far as that giant challenge?
I think we need to embrace the programs that are being made available to us. There has been a change in recent years. There has been a realization that what we were doing in large part with low-level offenders, people who are dealing with these really significant issues that they need a lot of help in overcoming, that we weren't doing the right thing by just putting them in jail and hoping that the problem would go away. So there has been an investment, and there has been a change in laws, and we've done a very good job of electing legislatures and passing legislation to try and deal with mental health issues and substance abuse issues. And we need people on our Superior Court bench who are willing to embrace those initiatives and to try and really delve into fixing the problems that we have, that we face. It's great to have legislators. You also have to have judges that implement those laws.
Absolutely. You mentioned the idea of modern justice, and what is a judge's responsibility, and how would you handle it if you think it is part of your portfolio, which it sounds like it does, to stay up on the latest developments in the law and also in the way we view, as a society, view some of our challenges and problems?
It takes somebody who really has a hunger for learning and who really wants to continue to better themselves throughout their careers. Somebody who doesn't just get comfortable in a position and thinking that they're in a position of power and that they're always going to have that position of power. I really feel like it's that public servants are servants, and part of that is staying on top of and educating yourself and learning all the developments in not just the law, but all the developments in all of the various aspects of our society about how we're dealing with the problems that continue to face us and the new problems that we face as a society.
Now you're now in the major crimes division, right? Prosecuting murder and cold cases.
Yes.
What do you think? And you've talked a lot about your prosecution of Weinstein and the whole Me Too movement. How do those background experiences, you think, impact the way you'll serve?
It's given me a really broad perspective on all of the challenges that we face in the legal system. One of the things about my cases now is that, I have a smaller caseload than I did at earlier times in my career, but the cases are much bigger. And so there are many, many things like, when we prosecuted Harvey Weinstein, there was a 3-year period during which we were developing that case and getting it ready for trial. And so throughout that time period, he had a legal team of 8 or 10 of some of the finest attorneys that we have in Los Angeles, some very, very well regarded and very well compensated attorneys. And so as part of that process, they presented us with every imaginable motion, they examined every part of our case that they could, and they brought us, they took us through every imaginable motion in preparation for that case. And so that was a great learning experience for me as well, because it gave me the opportunity to become acquainted with every imaginable motion that we could run before that case came to court. And so, and that's my experience with a lot of my cases now, is that I'm going up against very, very skilled attorneys, people who are really, really challenging me to constantly become better and to learn the law better and to see all the various aspects of the cases that I'm prosecuting.
Judicial temperament is a thing that folks talk about, and I feel like I've asked almost every woman running for judge, so I may as well ask you, how do you see your own fitness and judicial temperament?
I try to be, I have a perspective on what we do, that both sides, the prosecution, the defense, the both sides are really trying to do the best that they can. And our criminal justice system works the best when both sides are zealously advocating for their position. That includes, what I do for a living, but also what the defense attorneys do for a living. And so I approach my relationships with defense attorneys in that way. And I do not fault them for doing the very best that they can to represent their clients. I expect that of them. That's how our criminal justice system is supposed to work. And so I want to take that approach with me to the bench, where I understand, it's going to get heated. It's going to get passionate. People on both sides are going to be trying to represent their clients the best that they can. And the judge's role is to stay above the fray, to not become engaged in the back and forth, but to stay above the fray and to make decisions in an even-handed manner and maintain an even temperament. And so, that's my hope, is that I would take that approach with me.
Can you tell us about some hobbies or clubs or affiliations that you are proud of that tell us something about who Paul A. Thompson is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a parent. I have a 15-year-old daughter who's in high school, and so I'm very involved in trying to be involved in her life and in my wife's life, who's a special education teacher. I don't do anything special. I work out on the weekends. I like to go to Hollywood Bowl whenever I can. I don't know. I'm pretty average when it comes to all that.
Let's talk about your endorsements.
Sure. So I'm endorsed by the Los Angeles County Democratic Party. My opponent is endorsed by the GOP. I am endorsed by a whole host of Democratic clubs that I'm very proud of, including Avance, which is the largest Latino club in the United States. I'm endorsed by Stonewall, which is, of course, LGBTQ+. I'm endorsed by Blade, which is Black Los Angeles Young Democrats. And I'm endorsed by a host of labor unions, the Los Angeles and Orange County Building and Construction Trades, which is represents 160,000 hardworking people who literally they build our community. And I'm very proud to be endorsed by them. I'm endorsed by the Sentinel newspaper, which is a historic newspaper and very important. I'm also endorsed by IPAC, which is a nonpartisan group that represents Chinese Americans here in the Los Angeles area. So I'm very proud to have very broad support, very diverse support geographically and in every way.
And when you think about your vision, you mentioned what you don't want, based on the whole sex crimes, Me Too prosecution that you did. What is your positive vision, what you do want, what you'd love to bring to the bench?
I really feel like there is a deficit in our leadership at every level of government in people who really understand that their role is actually service, public service. To be a public servant means to be in service of the community, and that sometimes requires sacrifice. That requires going through difficulty. And I think that we just have a deficit of that. And what I want to bring to the bench is this understanding that the position is there to serve the people. They're given, judges and people in every position of power are given the power to serve the people. And that's the kind of humility and attitude of public service that I want to bring with me.
Tell us what, your 1 minute pitch or why we should vote for Paul A. Thompson pitch.
Look, it's really important that people, I think we have rightfully so really complained about the leadership that we have in this country right now. We have a real problem with people who are there to try and promote themselves. Here's an opportunity for people to really give the community leadership that understands that public service is service, and who understands that it's important to take on power when power needs to be taken on, and when there needs to be accountability, and who brings an understanding of how difficult it is for somebody who doesn't have power, connections, or wealth to walk into a courtroom and to try and face and to try and seek justice in a situation where they don't have the money to buy, a team of 8 or 10 attorneys and a fleet of investigators, to who understands the position that people are in. Most people are in when they come in the courtroom. And so that's why people should vote for me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, spending your time with us this morning. It's Paul Thompson, 4judge.com, Paul Thompson, 4judge.com. Appreciate the conversation.
I appreciate you, Dominique. Thank you.
Thank you. The phone lines are open. Next, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DePrima, and this is your election information station, KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Fred Martin, founder of Compton Kids Club. I just want to talk about the authenticity and tell y'all about my homeboy, Tom Steyer. Tom is a rock star. When I met him, Tom gave a grant to schools in San Francisco. All the kids were on probation. We were flying instructors for 2 years to come and help those kids doing performing arts and turning their life around. Some of the kids that he supported, they've graduated from UCLA. Let's fast forward. Tom is in schools in Compton, hanging out with the kids in the piano classes. Brother Tom Steyer hangs out in the studio with us. These are the seeds that he's planted. This has nothing to do with elections. What's coming out of his mouth is not a campaign speech. It's authentic. And when he say he walks away from a business because he want to do his values, he ain't making that up because he's running for governor. This man is real.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for Progressive Talk Radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back. Indeed, we're trying to get you ready for this election. So if you haven't been paying attention, and I don't blame you, I'm not mad at you, but we've got podcasts up wherever you get your pods. We've got interviews with the folks that you are going to see on your ballot, including some of the judicial candidates that we've talked to today. Paul Thompson, who's running for seat number 116. The numbers don't really matter. What it tells you is who they're running against, because any LA County Superior Court judge can be placed in any courtroom, as we pretty much all know by now. And so the important thing is for us to have a sense of who these folks are, and that he's right. That is one of the more controversial races that we have in this particular contest. There are only two people running for 116. His opponent is Pat Connolly, who is a sitting judge, the son of a police chief who started as a prosecutor working in homicides and gang-related matters. So far, we have not been able to get in contact with Judge Connolly, but there's still time. So we could see that happen. He has been admonished 3 times by the California Commission on Judicial Performance. The last time was in 2021, where the commission said he displayed improper demeanor to 2 attorneys during the coronavirus period. And another time they said he made an inappropriate remark because he allegedly told a defendant a gift from the verdict was a gift from God, because there's no question that you're guilty of this crime. So, this is according to the LA Times. Again, perhaps we'll hear from his opponent, but putting these things in perspective, because a lot of times judicial races are sleepy matters where there's very little controversy unless you're really in inside baseball and know what's going on, the ins and outs of that particular seat. But this time there's a couple that are pretty controversial. And so definitely worth tracking what's going on in those seats. We've had one candidate and another one. And again, I would urge you to go back and listen for yourself, because it's important. You could end up in front of that person in a courtroom, or your son or daughter, niece or nephew, mom or dad could be there. And you'll find yourself saying, dang, I wish I would have paid attention. And since Attorney Carrie Harper and I started really tracking these judges and judge candidates 10 years ago, we have seen some of the folks that the community got behind who might be unlikely candidates because they come from the defense side, or they come from private practice, or they were women, or they were Black. We've seen them win, and already have seen the impact of some of those decisions, and this being a really great and positive side of elections have consequences. We always talk about the FAFO side of elections, which is what we're seeing play out right now on the federal level. But on the local level, not just in California, but in states across the country, more Black women are running, more people from the defense side are running, more folks with diverse backgrounds and experiences, no matter what job they might happen to have, are in these races. And this is making a difference. And if you don't believe me, look at what's happening with the U.S. Extreme Court and some of these other lower courts where our current president has stacked the deck, and see how that is impacting our rights, your rights, and what you can and cannot do in this country. And that should inspire you to pay attention to these LA County Superior Court justice races. We have got a lot more to do and a lot more to talk about today. Next up, attorney Lisa E. Davis. She's a super lawyer, and she's joining us next after News, Traffic, and Sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Gas prices continue to climb, with experts warning relief won't come quickly even if the Iran war ends. Here's Nick Jarmus with AAA.
It's going to take some time for those logistical networks to get back and the oil to actually get to where it needs to be.
AAA says prices typically peak in summer due to a costlier gasoline blend. The mother of a toddler exposed to fentanyl has been arrested and charged in Tennessee. Police say Black 28-year-old Deja Cross endangered her 3-year-old and intended to distribute drugs from her home. Cross is being held without bond. And Damani and King Harris are set to join their dad, T.I., on their first ever joint tour. Earlier this week, the rapper and his sons shared a video to announce the family succession tour. All three will kick things off on July 8th in Phoenix. Tickets are on sale now. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O Tires, save up to $170 on select sets of tires with paid installation using your Big O Tires and service credit card. Plus, synthetic oil changes start at just $39.99 through May 24th at Big O Tires.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Oklahoma City Thunder put the Lakers out of their misery Monday night and started the countdown on a decision about LeBron's future. As in previous years after the final game of the season, LeBron said he has no idea if he's returning to the NBA for a 24th season or to the Lakers for a 9th season. OKC's 115-110 victory completed a sweep of the Lakers in the Western Conference semifinals and elevated the possibility that the 41-year-old LeBron might have played his last game with the Lakers. LeBron had a decent game last night, 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists in 40 minutes. On July 1st, LeBron becomes an unrestricted free agent, which will give him the right to talk with any team in the league. The Lakers have to figure out if they want to give LeBron a new contract that will pay him more than the $52 million he earned this season. Some tough decisions on both sides coming up. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Stand up! When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
Inside my head, there is a